Hey there, it's Angela. This is my channel, The Woodland Gardener, and if you're new here, welcome. And if you've been here before, thanks for coming back. So my channel is all about inspiration and how-tos to help all of us aspiring gardeners out there. And today I wanted to hop on real quick and show you what I'm planning to do this year for the veggie garden. So we've got some big changes planned to the infrastructure and I'm so excited, so stick around. Now that all of our snow is gone, I can see the earth again and it feels so good. I didn't think I was ever going to see my garden again. We had such a thick blanket of snow on the ground, but that's gone and the weather's warming up and I'm starting to get out here and do some prep work for some of the changes we're going to make. So one of the biggest changes we are going to do is to add another 12-foot long raised bed. So the way our garden is currently set up, it's kind of a mess and there's random things laying around, but it'll get cleaned up. You guys know how that is. I've got 4 beds in a row here. These are 3 foot by 8 foot. And then there's a path down the middle big enough to get a riding mower through, although I don't really let any grass grow up through here nowadays. And then in the back over here, I've got 2 more beds that are 3 foot by 12 foot. So I wanted to add another bed right here in line, another 12-footer, but that section doesn't really get too much sun, not very many hours of sun each day. Even in like the middle of summer when the sun is higher overhead, it really doesn't get that much sun. The sun comes up right back there and makes an arc straight over, and the house blocks out some of that. So it stays really shady there, so we've decided to put that bed in a different location. What we're going to do is to put it to the left of this first 8-foot bed here. It'll just be right in line with that, going back off to the left, and there'll be like a 2-foot walking space in between, but then that new bed will just go long ways like that. And also, we're finally going to repair this first raised bed. A few years ago, the posts rotted out and so the sides fell off, but we should be able to repair that pretty easily. I don't think that'll be a problem. All of these grow bags here I'm going to use to grow corn in, so they'll just get pushed like further on back, and this area where the new bed's going should get a lot of sun, especially over the summer months. And the very biggest change that we're planning to make in the garden this year is to install a greenhouse that our friends gave us last fall. And it's gonna go right here on the side of the shed. It won't butt up directly against it. There'll be maybe 2 feet in between, enough to walk through to clean the greenhouse, or if any repairs need to be made, we'll be able to get back there. But it's gonna go right in this area. And the first thing that we're doing there, well actually the first thing that we had to do was to take down a tree that was here. You can see like the remnants of the shredder. It was a big blue spruce, really tall and pretty old, but it had gotten some kind of disease on it, which all of our spruce trees are getting this year, and they're all dying off. So it was definitely mostly dead, so we went ahead and had it taken out. So that opened up this space, all this space right here that'll get really good sun in the summer. So that was the first thing that we had to do. And the next thing that we're planning is to install a gravel pad here. We'll have to level off the ground a little bit, and then we're just going to join it up next to this little gravel space that's on the side of the shed. And it'll come out, the pad will be 10 foot by 10 foot roughly, and the greenhouse itself is 8 by 8, so there'll be a little perimeter around the greenhouse. So that's definitely the biggest thing that we're intending to do this spring for the garden, and I'm so excited. I can't wait. it should work out really nicely adding that bed right here, and then the greenhouse will be where I'm standing, and then our other existing beds. And I do make good use of these grow bags. These are just from Amazon. I got some 20-gallon bags, which are these here, and then in the back, those are mostly 15 gallons. There's a couple of 20 gallons thrown in there. I've used those for mostly tomatoes. They do a good job. They work, and you can move them around to situate wherever you have the space, so they're pretty nice. And another thing we're doing that's a little bit simpler than building another bed, and certainly than putting the greenhouse in, is adding a trellis to this 12-foot bed here. So in 2017, I think, we built this trellis here. The whole trellis overall is 8 feet tall. By the time you take off a foot for sinking it into the soil, it ends up giving the plants 7 feet of growing height. The plants love it. Any climbing plants just thrive on it. It's been so good. But we have so many other things to build and do this year. Building another one of those is definitely not on the project list. So what we did was to pull out these, I guess they're kind of like wrought iron structures. They're a little rusty, so I try to be careful. It looked like they were pieces of a fence at one point, and they've been in the woods of our property for a long time, like as long as we've been here, since 2012. And we've been seeing them, and we're always thinking, oh, we got to pull those out and do something with them. So this was the year we finally did that, and we're gonna figure out a way to stand them vertically so it kind of would look like rungs of a ladder, and anchor them into this bed here. And that should make a pretty decent trellis for the time being. It won't be as tall as the one we built, but it should be fine for things like melons. And if I get really ambitious, what I'd like to do is to build some new compost structures. These little ones have done well, but you can see I'm very quickly outgrowing them. I get a lot of used coffee grounds from our local Starbucks, and that fills this up quickly. And then I've got my shredded leaves there from the fall. And these buckets, I did used to grow things in. They've drilled holes on the bottom, and they're food grade 5-gallon buckets, but I've kind of outgrown them, and I find that the soil gets really compacted in there. So those are kind of on the way out. I got to figure out if there's anything I could use them for at this point before discarding them. They can't be used as buckets because of the holes drilled into the bottom, unfortunately. But what I'd like to do in this area is build some of those 3-sided bins that you see people use that have maybe 3 sections, one for new materials, one for material that you just keep using a new section until you fill it up, and then you leave that one alone, let it decay, and start filling up the second section, and so forth. So that's what I'd like to do, just with plywood or something. But I feel like plywood would probably get warped and damaged out in the weather. All these other structures that we've built are cedar or pressure treated pine. So I think I'm gonna have to figure out maybe a better way than plywood, just because they're exposed to the elements all the time. That's pretty much what I've been up to lately when it comes to the garden, just trying to get all these plans laid out and do some prep work for building all these structures and the great changes that are coming. Thanks you guys for hanging out with me today. I hope you found this helpful, or at least a little bit interesting. And if you did, and you would click like and subscribe, I'd greatly appreciate it. And until next time, this is Angela signing off with a friendly reminder to get out there and play in the dirt.